What is the biggest adult temper tantrum that you've ever witnessed? I used to work for Goodyear Tire and Auto Stores about 10 years ago. A man, 40s, well dressed, came in wanting an alignment done on his truck. When they told him a price, he got upset and said that he had purchased a lifetime alignment from us and would not be paying. Our sales guy explained calmly that Goodyear does not, and has never sold lifetime alignments, but Firestone does, and perhaps he is mistaken. The man became furious, insisting that we perform his alignment because he paid for a lifetime alignment, and that if we don't we will sue for breach of contract. Manager gets involved. There's no calming this guy down. He has us check our system and he's never even been to a GY store before at all. That just made it worse, etc. The next few minutes was him yelling incomprehensibly at our manager, other customers in the lounge, demanding action be taken on his vehicle. Finally the manager says he's calling the cops and the guy goes on a full-blown profanity-induced rampage through our store on the way to the door, knocking over coffee dispensers and cups, a magazine rack, and ends it by kicking open our door. The kick ripped the hydraulic door closer off the wall above the door, and he left. Our manager ran into him a week later at a car dealership. Turns out he was a sales manager there. Our manager walked out and cited that guy's behavior as the reason they just lost a sale. Then he forwarded the security cam video of his rampage to the GM of the dealership. Still not sure what happened on that part. Props to your manager for the follow-up. Was at a restaurant with my uncle and cousins from far away. First time visiting with them in years. At the end of the dinner one of my cousins snuck off and paid for everyone as a nice gesture. My uncle got irate yelling and complained that he wanted to pay his share because, and I crap you not, he has a movie ticket points Visa card and he was close to getting a free movie. He argued and told off our cousin loudly in the restaurant over a few free movie points. He would not drop it until he got our cousin to apologize to him for costing him movie points. I don't think those cousins are going to fly down again anytime soon. Yeah, it's not like he could have used the money he saved from dinner to pay for a movie ticket or something. When I worked in the bakery at Whole Foods, we had a customer who kept asking us to make banana muffins with a lot of pecans on top for her, but only a few at a time, like 2 or 3. In general it was a request we could accommodate, but we had a few considerations we had to account for, like the fact that if we made them and she didn't pick them up we couldn't sell them to anyone else because pecans weren't on the ingredient list. The problems started arising when she would call us while she was on the way to the store, expecting to pick them up when she arrived. She was about 20 minutes away and they took 45 minutes to bake. Even if she had called us while she was an hour away, we were on a pretty tight production schedule and someone would have to interrupt the work they had to get done that day for an unexpected special order for this one customer. First she got mad that we couldn't magically make them in 20 minutes because chemistry. I was unfortunately the supervisor on shift when she called most of the time, so she'd keep me on the phone for 15 minutes raging about how the customer is always right, even though she was factually incorrect in this circumstance. She started saying we should just make them her way all the time so that we always had them on hand for her. I explained to her that we could get heavily fined by food inspectors if we did that, but that only made her angrier because frick the man, I guess. Eventually my team leader said that we had to put our foot down with her and tell her that she had to put in special orders 2 days in advance just like everyone else. When we told her this, she of course got like sputtering infuriated, along the lines of how am I supposed to know when I'm going to want them. We were able to just say well management says so, sorry, and we thought that was that. She went along with it for a couple days, sending her poor mother to pick them up for her because she was too angry to step foot in the store. Her mom always looked so apologetic. Finally, though, she came in personally to berate my team about how rude and inconsiderate and generally crappy we had been to her. Then she asked to speak to our store manager, who had been made aware of the whole banana nut saga. He escorted her outside and told her she was banned from the store. We found out later that she had also been banned from the 3 nearest Whole Foods locations over this exact same set of circumstances. This doesn't surprise me in the least. Not so much a tantrum but just an incredible rage incident. I watched as a woman exiting an Einstein Bros Bagels looked into her bag and, in anger over some error in her order, perfectly frisbeed an all-grain bagel across the length of the store, over sitting customers, and beamed the cashier perfectly on the head. Her aim was so impressive that none of us, including the cashier, could do anything but stare in silent awe. I pictured this from the point of view of the soaring bagel for some reason. My mother-in-law doesn't handle stress very well. She tends to start lashing out at people and starting fights for no reason. On the morning of my son's first birthday party she started to lose it as we were running around getting everything ready before the guests arrived. She first cornered my wife and started freaking out over the thermostat and some other unrelated pointless crap. Then found me and started a fight over the garage door. It needed oiling and I hadn't done it because I was busy setting up the party. Volume of the voice steadily increasing. My wife marches up to her and actually sent her to her room to calm down. And she did it. She stayed up there for an hour while my wife and I finished putting up decorations. It is a memory I will cherish forever. Your wife sounds cool. You should marry her. I was a kid in a mall when I was able to shop by myself and saw a lady blow a fuse at some guy behind the counter, calling him names and whatnot, just losing her crap. He just puts up the palm of his hand and says, "Ma'am, I believe you are too irrational to deal with," and then just pivots 180 degrees not facing her and ignores her, waits for her to leave, and when she does, he just proceeds to say to the next person, "May I help you?" like nothing even happened. I learned a lot from that guy in 1.5 minutes. How to shut a bee down in 1.5 minutes. I used to work at a Whole Foods as a cashier, and on one particularly busy night I was about to have my customer pay when he took his cart, pulled it back and slammed it into the next guy's cart at the register next to mine. Those registers are really tight quarters. My guy then raised his voice saying, "I can't even reach the machine to swipe my card. Move your cart, butthole." This was crazy because he could have just moved his own cart out of the way but insisted on slammed his neighbor's instead. So the next guy over, as a Zen master, slowly turns to the guy, looks at the carts, looks at me, looks at my guy and just says, "We can fight about it if you want." Me and the other cashier tried our hardest not to laugh, but the look of embarrassment on my guy's face as HR realized how ridiculous he was acting was something else. He got shut down. The calm ones are the dangerous ones. Had a patient family member that was super picky, constantly calling the nurse's station, constantly coming out of the room to complain. She was upset because she ordered a guest tray, wanted a cheeseburger, and it hadn't come up yet. Another patient coded next door. So basically, patient was literally dying. All of us nurses left crazy lady to go to the code, and the lady went batshit, yelling, "You don't care about my cheeseburger." We ignored her, lol. That's correct. We don't care about your cheeseburger. Old job. One day, we had a huge tech overhaul they didn't prepare anyone for. Entire machines we're used to using were just gone, sometimes replaced, sometimes not. After 3 hours of literally everyone asking the manager how they were supposed to do their jobs now, he walked to the middle of the room and turned in a slow circle, screaming at the top of his lungs and gesturing wildly, saying, "Everyone just do what you always freaking do." So I went to my workstation and waggled my fingers in the air where a keyboard had been the day before. I like you. The parking garage near my work is a frustrating place. The monthly customers have a parking pass that lifts the gate to get in and to get out. The thing is, the pass and their sensor don't work. You have to creep up to where you think the sweet spot might be, wave your pass around, reverse and try again, curse a bunch, injure people behind you honking despite them going through the same thing. Frustrating. Not surprisingly, I witnessed a grown man throw the most excellent temper tantrum I've ever seen. The gate wouldn't go up, and he just started screaming in his car and smashing on the horn. Straight out of a movie. The worst part is that the gate always seems to go up right when you reach peak rage. So he's yelling away, and then the gate is just like, "Alright, man, I'll open." Jeez. Plot twist. There's no sensor, it's just a guy watching the cameras waiting for peak rage before he opens the gate. When I was in high school, my boyfriend was planning on joining me and my friends for an indie movie night at my house. Boyfriend called me up to say that he couldn't make it because he had to watch his siblings, and I overheard his dad screaming, stomping and yelling at the top of his lungs. He kept calling me a stupid little W and a freaking waste of time. I should mention that I was 14. Who calls a 14-year-old girl that? I ended up calling the police on him twice later, once when he punched his son in the face and another when he followed my mom and brother home. He wanted to teach her a lesson. We found out. I don't wish pain on anyone, but if he died in a car fire I'd probably do a little dance. I feel bad for your boyfriend and his sibs. When I was working at Petco, I used to see all kinds of adult temper tantrums. People needed to take care of their animals, but hated how much that costs. Of course they would take it out on the store employees. People that wanted fish were the worst. They would try to get away with spending so little on fish and never wanted to clean their tanks or buy the stuff to do that. Then they wouldn't properly introduce new fish to their tanks and would bring in samples of their water that was just terrible and BP when they couldn't get another fish for free to replace the one they killed. However, the biggest adult temper tantrum was from a guy that bought flies off, really cheap, in an attempt to get rid of fleas, relatively expensive. He used the whole bottle and came back expecting a refund because his dog still had fleas. He was told no when things went south quick. He was yelling by the check lanes about how he deserved a refund, screaming at the manager in front of everyone, making a huge scene. He then kicked over this spinning rack holding dog collars and yelled that he was going to come back and shoot up the windows. We called the police. He never actually came back, but what a total piece of garbage over like $5-10 bucks. Poor dog. I was at the pharmacy around 8 PM, waiting in line behind an older lady. The pharmacist tells her she'll have to pick up her prescription tomorrow at 10 AM because this location doesn't carry this particular medication. The following ensues. Lady, I'll wait. Pharmacist, no ma'am, we physically don't have it in this store. You have to come back tomorrow at 10 AM. Lady, let me speak to the manager. Pharmacist, I am the manager. I'm the pharmacist and this is my store. I'm telling you, we do not have this medication right now. Lady, can you just give me one pill and I'll get the rest tomorrow? Pharmacist, ma'am, we don't have any of the pills here. Lady, what if I pay you for the cost of that one pill right now, and I get the rest tomorrow? Pharmacist, ma'am, I can't give you one pill because we have 0 pills in this store. You'll be fine until tomorrow at 10 AM. I promise. The woman proceeds to go ape crap. She begins throwing stuff on the shelves onto the floor, stamping on them, screaming about how she will sue this pharmacy and how she's never seen such terrible customer service in her life. She even started kicking the partition between her and the pharmacist, threatening to go back there and fill it herself. It didn't even seem like she was upset about the medication itself. It was more that she didn't get her way and didn't want to come back. He asked a clerk to come help and the whole time, she's grabbing for things and throwing them onto the floor in fury. She gets escorted out and we could still hear her yelling outside. You are welcome to wait, but we close at 9 PM. You'll have to wait outside. Flying out of JFK with my boss and team analyst. We have about 1:15 before our flight leaves, so we decide to sit down and eat at one of those restaurants where you order via a tablet. We all order. 10 minutes later our food comes out. My boss and I get burger. He gets his with a side salad. Team's analyst gets a chicken sandwich. Guy at table next to us looks at my boss's plate, very condescendingly states, "You're eating my turkey burger." Boss lifts his bun, confirms burger is beef and answers, "No, I'm eating my hamburger, not your turkey burger." Guy at table next to us now stands up. Looks like a German villain from a bad 80s movie. Guy makes a beeline to the waiter that served us and starts screaming, "Where is my turkey burger? I was here 4 minutes before the 3 of them and still don't have my turkey burger." Waiter, who is an older Indian man, is visibly nervous. Guy keeps screaming, "I ordered a turkey burger. It hasn't came. I want my turkey burger. I demand satisfaction." Waiter says he'll check and rushes back into kitchen. Slinks back out about 2 minutes later. Noticeable knows he has to confront this guy again and doesn't want to. So says the waiter, "No order has been placed at any of the tablets on your table." Guy starts screaming, "This is bulls. You think I don't know how to use a tablet? I want my turkey burger. I demand satisfaction." 5 more minutes ensue of him screaming about demanding satisfaction. Waiter finally grabs the tablet at his table. Order for turkey burger was keyed in. Submit order button was never hit. Guy is now angry and embarrassed. Has a look on his face like he's going to go home and beat his wife. Waiter looks smug. He's the one who actually got satisfaction out of all of this. A 60-ish-year-old man was getting gas and the pump allows you to pay for a car wash at the same time. He adds the car wash to his bill, drives around to car wash, big huge large C from space type sign temp out of service. Goes inside, starts screaming that this mother sucker tried to steal his $7.99. The guy explains that the ticket is good for 90 days and he's sorry. Slams his fist on the counter screaming that if the car wash was out of service the pump shouldn't have offered it to him in the first place. Demands a full refund including the gas for wasting his time. Then it gets bad. He starts calling the guy an ISIS member and throwing things off the shelves before storming out. Calls the guy all sorts of names. I thought his head may have exploded with all of the veins showing. This man is my father. We don't speak anymore. Plot twist. Back when I worked at 7-Eleven, a woman came in for coffee and I was out of decaf. So I offered to make her a fresh pot and she said that it wasn't good enough and she was already late. Threw the cup on the ground and stomped out. People, what a bunch of bastards. I will never understand the people who try to buy coffee in the mornings and then complain they're going to be late when it's not ready in 2.5 seconds. At the Starbucks I go to, this happens every morning. It's like, dude, if waiting 2 minutes for your coffee is going to cause you to be late, you were already running late. It's not the employee's fault at that point. I worked as a bra fitter in a department store. We had an older lady, probably late 60s with her rich old husband, 80s, come into the store wanting to buy bras after she had 2 weeks earlier gotten a boob job. We explained that because of swelling she should wait to buy bras and she became so enraged she literally started yelling abuse at us and pushing over entire racks of underwear. Picture a thin, somewhat wrinkled woman in rhinestones, losing her crap and tossing around undies. It was glorious. I used to work at McDonald's. One time a guy came through the drive-thru and ordered chicken nuggets. We gave him his food and he drives off. A few minutes later, he comes into the store and runs up to the counter ranting about how we forgot his barbecue sauce. My manager meets him at the counter, apologizes profusely and him some barbecue sauce packets, extra 2, maybe 6-7 packets. He proceeds to throw them at her and the rest of us workers behind the counter. We all had barbecue sauce splattered on our uniforms, on the walls, equipment, etc. After he ran out of ammunition, he ran out of the store and drove away like a coward. I was 15 then and I pretty much lost my faith in humanity. To be fair, the McDonald's near me literally never puts the sauce in the bag and I have to go back and ask for it every time. It's frustrating, but heck, I'm not gonna act like a freaking 5-year-old and assault people with it. Frick that guy. 4 years ago, I worked at Target. Any retail job will show you infinite adult temper tantrums. One day, a man in his mid-40s, well dressed, was buying lighters and his 2 young sons were with him, maybe 8 and 11. As my current customer finished, I informed the man that I would need his ID in order to sell him the lighters. He started frustrated laughing and said, "Do I look like I'm under 18 freaking years?" I said, "I believe you're over 18, sir, but when I scan the lighters, it will ask for your ID. If you don't have it, I have to call my manager to put a code in. Just trying to make things as easy as possible for you." He said, "You're freaking idiot," and threw the lighters at me and went to leave. The current customer, as the dude stormed by, said, "Stop being such an butthole," and the man turned around and got in his face. They started arguing, but my current customer kept his cool while the butthole shouted at him. I'm pretty sure the dad does this frequently because the kids were tugging on his clothes, asking him to stop. Another time, a lady had 2 carts full stuff. She was an extreme couponer and would resell these products in Facebook. She had calculated it and after everything was done, she was to get $280 in products and we would owe her $0.50. The issue is, It is not possible to pay someone out of the register. The system won't allow it. I offered to $0 out her balance but insisted I couldn't give her money. She requested to speak to my manager. As my manager came over, the woman starts accusing me of stealing from her. Then she explains to my boss the situation and my boss corroborates my story. The woman says then you can go frick yourself, tipped her cart over and left. I worked in a grocery store and a woman asked me to slice her organic bread. She flipped out when she discovered that non-organic bread was also sliced on the machine. She stomped her foot and yelled, "But that messes up the organic integrity." It was my last week working there, so I simply told her, "Mom, please understand. I'm not emotionally involved in the situation." She froze and just walked away with the bread. That's the nicest way of saying I don't give a frick I've ever heard. I told a grown woman she could not pet my service dog while he was working. She got herself so worked up she started shouting and told me that if I didn't want people to pet my dog I shouldn't bring him into the grocery store. I expect this sort of behavior from young children, and I also expect their parents to keep them under control. Good God, my 5-year-old knows better. I worked the front desk at a hotel a few years ago. A guest came to check in around 10 PM and asked if he could get a room with 2 beds. He booked 1 bed. I told him we were sold out of rooms with 2 beds. Before I could offer him anything else, he took the bowl of apples we had at the desk and threw it against the wall. Then he took his own laptop, threw it on the ground and started kicking it around the lobby. Security came out promptly and told him he needed to leave, which obviously prompted more screaming and kicking. Needless to say, he didn't stay at the hotel that night. Downgraded to 0 beds. Appropriate. Oh good lord. When I worked at Starbucks there was a very well-dressed man who came in and ordered a latte with the following customizations. Whole milk, no foam, 200 degrees. We had just run out of whole milk, which I told him and apologized for. He didn't get crappy with me or anything, but was sort of weird and soft-spoken. Okay, whatever. So I handed his cup down the line for his drink to be made. 200 degree no foam lattes are a beat to make, but my best barista was on duty so I wasn't worried at all. She hands off his drink. He takes the lid off and looks at it. Customer, I said no foam. Barista, oh, I'm sorry, I must not have been paying attention. Give me 1 moment and I'll remake it for you. Customer, no, it's fine. The customer walks away in the middle of my barista explaining that it would only take a few seconds to correct his drink. Suddenly, but also very silently, he takes the lid off of his drink and pours it all over the condiment bar in a sweeping motion. Not really a temper tantrum, but obviously the dude had some very weird ways of dealing with dissatisfaction. I'm in retail, so I witness my fair share of adult temper tantrums. But ever since I became a manager it's 10x worse because now I'm the one that gets called up to deal with the tantrums. A few weeks ago a woman wanted to return a curling iron that had clearly been being used for years and wasn't even a brand that my store sold, so she obviously had no receipt and no original packaging, meaning it wasn't eligible for return anyway whether or not it's something she had bought at our store. But when I told her this, politely of course, she puffed up and asked to speak to the manager. Okay, I'm a manager, but the store's general manager will be here tomorrow if you want to leave your number and I can have her give you a call. Nope, not acceptable. She wants cash for it today. Even if I somehow was able to accept the return, my system literally won't let me. It would be store credit only, never cash. I tell her this, and she flips the frick out, screams at me, literally, not figuratively. Tells me she's calling the cops and corporate and the Better Business Bureau and the Attorney General. WTF are they going to do about it? Calls me a C and a W. And then she tells me karma is going to bite me in the butt and I'm going to have a stillborn baby. Which was really fun to hear considering I'm currently 9 months pregnant. All because she couldn't return her used curling iron for money. I had no doubt in my mind she was on some sort of substance. But the significant amount of teeth missing from her mouth tipped me off that it was she was after, and you obviously can't pay your dealer in store credit. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.